If anyone says this, do you really think a person your size should be eating that? You should say something like,
Oh, honey, of course I'm eating this. Food has no moral value, and I'm going to eat what I want when I want.
Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. As you can tell, we are in the new office. It is basically set up here in Massachusetts. There's still some things that need to be fixed as far as this being completely empty, but I am happy to be set up and I can start actually getting videos out. So thank you everyone for the well wishes. Today we are going to be talking about J-Bay. Now, if you don't know who J-Bay is, I'm assuming you do, but she got really popular because she had this petition that was going around about airlines and plus size travel and basically making it easier for people that are plus size to, travel, which sounds good. But the thing with J-Bay is that she is basically the quintessential person that you think about when you think about someone that is delusional and is also promoting fat acceptance, because a lot of times there's ideas that she might have that I can get behind, that I can understand, but then it's the way that she will go about things, as well as taking zero accountability for things that she maybe has done that have put her in the position that she's in.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So with that being said, J-Bay has uploaded quite a few more TikToks that we are going to be going over. So without further ado, let's just jump into them. This first TikTok we are going to be going over is her responding to people that maybe are making unwanted comments when you are a bigger person at different holiday events. So the caption goes on to say, "All right, fam, we all know the holidays can bring out the worst in some people, especially when it comes to body comments. Whether it's about what's on your plate, your outfit, or your body, people think they have the right to say whatever they want. Well, guess what? They don't. You are not here for their opinion, and you definitely don't need to listen to their diet culture BS. You deserve to enjoy your food, wear what makes you feel like a boss, and love your body just as, just as it is." Emoji with painting your nails. So if someone hits you with are you really going to eat that? Or are you sure you want to wear that? Hit them with the sass. Pow. Don't let anyone's outdated ideas mess with your vibe. You've got this. You are way more than their opinions. And if they can't handle it, tell them to kick rocks. This emoji. Stay fierce, stay unapologetic, and don't let anyone steal your shine this holiday season. It sounds like it's like a a movie trailer or something, but let's go ahead and watch this.
All right, fam, we're back. And this time, we're taking those holiday comments and turning them into straight up clapbacks. If you thought my last video was nice, get ready for me to tell it like it really is.
So this is part two. She already did a video like this, but her responses were very nice and understanding. And so this is the evil version of that, where she's clapping back at the haters.
So let's get into those ridiculous questions and serve up some truth. No filter.
if anyone says this, do you really think a person your size should be eating that? You should say something like,
Oh, honey, of course I'm eating this. Food has no moral value, and I'm going to eat what I want when I want. You worrying about my plate? That's your problem, not mine. How about you mind your own business and let me enjoy my damn meal?
Okay. So I think the first thing that you have to understand is like this is never happening in any actual real life circumstance. Like no one is going to respond like that. It's just like, I don't know. Again, like I said, it's the most delusional you can think of. Like that's exactly how I feel about J-Bay. And a lot of times like when I see this, it almost makes me feel like, is this satire? Because that's how ridiculous some of the stuff is. And who is going to respond like that? No one, I don't think.
if anyone says this, looks like you've gained weight since I last saw you. What happened? You should say something like,
Oh, my weight? Really? Why does that concern you? It's none of your damn business. Honestly, comments like that are gross. Go touch grass, Karen, and leave my body out of it.
Like it just reminds me of like a kid writing in a journal of like, in middle school, like Lisa said this to me and I'm going to respond with this, or like arguments you have in the shower. Like I would have responded this way. It's like, okay, well, like you didn't. So I don't know.
anyone says this, are you sure you want to wear that? It's not very flattering for someone your size. You should say something like,
Oh, sweetie, what's really not flattering is your outdated opinion. I'm wearing what I want, and honestly, your opinion is completely irrelevant. Maybe you should spend less time worrying about my clothes and more time figuring out how to mind your own business. though, just a reminder this holiday season from your favorite fat activist. Nobody has the right to disrespect you, family or not. Your body, your choices, your life. And sometimes you've got to tell a person to kick rocks and keep it moving.
So, like I said, you obviously can do those things, right? You can tell someone to kick rocks, it's none of your business, but you don't have to go into this whole thing of like this fake scenario where like no one is going to respond that way. Just be like, it's really none of your business. There you go. That's all you actually have to say. And then that it's a much better response than trying to have this ridiculous clapback that just doesn't seem realistic. But I just wanted to share that because I thought it was interesting. But these next ones I think are very, very interesting. This TikTok I feel like really does a good job of showing kind of the way that J-Bay sees herself and the work that she feels that she is doing and how she is, rallying against all of these people. So it goes on to say, there are nights I lay awake questioning if anything I do matters. Nights when tears come unrelenting and the weight of the world that resists change feels unbearable. Advocacy isn't just standing strong. It's breaking quietly, wondering if you're enough to make a difference. As a young activist, I battle not just external fights, but internal ones, navigating PTSD, PMDD, anxiety, depression, and an ED. Some days the hardest fight is showing up for others when I can barely show up for myself, and still I keep going. I've sacrificed sleep, security, and so much stability for this work. Advocacy takes everything and it gives little in return. Yet I would do it all again for one person, one conversation, one chance at change. This world desperately needs more respect, compassion, and voices willing to fight. I've lost so much but gained purpose. Even on the hardest days, I hold on to that. To those who support me, you remind me I'm not alone. On days when hope feels lost, you bring it back. Thank you for believing in me, for seeing me, for standing with me. I may cry, I may break, but I won't stop. You are worth it. Together, we'll keep going. So again, it's like, I think she sees herself as fighting against these things. And like, I understand like having those thoughts, but the biggest issue for me is that it seems like she also doesn't, it's like she can't see any of her own doing of like, hey, the size that you are and how large you are, to not see like I feel like I've done nothing to get to that size. It's like, come on, like you have to take some responsibility for those things, but it's like impossible. It's like she can't possibly fathom the fact that she is as large as she is. It has anything to do with choices that she has made, right?
There are days when it feels like the world is against you, when speaking out comes with pain and backlash. But even on those days, I remind myself why I keep going. This is where the work starts, the part that no one sees. Research, planning, and filming, all with the hope that what I do can make a difference. But some days, the weight of it all can feel too much. The hate, the pressure, it builds. But I keep going because I know I'm not alone. And then there are days like this, when everything feels too heavy, when the pain takes over. It's hard, but I remind myself that I'm doing this for something bigger than myself.
Or maybe like, do you feel like, is this really what I should be doing? Is this really where my focus should be? Do I really believe this? Or am I just saying this because I feel like this is the thing that will get me the most attention on social media? Because I think forever now, I will really struggle to really believe how genuine J-Bay is because of, she had this whole switch where she went to like doing polyamorous content that had nothing to do with her weight at all, nothing about advocacy. That wasn't doing well. No one was clicking on those videos. No one cared. And then all of a sudden, all of these videos are coming out again. So it's like, is this really what you care about? Is this really the thing that is a really big deal for you? Or is it the thing that will get you the most clicks?
It's these moments, the messages, the support from you all that remind me why I can't give up. You're the reason I keep going. So I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Because I wouldn't be able to do this without those who support my work. Your words, your support, it lifts me up. It reminds me that we're in this together. When I feel like I can't go on, you remind me why I have to. I faced challenges all my life growing up in a world that wasn't built for people like me. From witnessing addiction and poverty to navigating a society that constantly told me I wasn't enough, I was told I'd never amount to anything, but I proved them wrong. And now I want to dedicate my life to fighting to make the world a better place, a place where no one feels overlooked, unheard, or unworthy of respect.
I'm sorry, but this voice is creeping me out, man.
This is why I do it. To fight for respect, equality, and change. To stand up for the people who feel like they don't have a voice. Because everyone deserves to be seen. Even when it feels impossible, I stand tall. Because there are others out there, like me, who need this fight. I do this work for you. I do this work for all of us. On the hardest days, when the responsibility feels unbearable and the pain is overwhelming, I remind myself why I started. I keep going because the fight is worth it. Because you are worth it. Thank you for being here. For supporting me, for supporting each other. We are stronger together, and I will keep going for you. For us.
So, clearly, J-Base almost sees herself, it seems like, as some sort of like martyr for the fat acceptance movement, right? Or she calls herself literally a fat activist. And these next couple of TikToks, I feel like really show a lot of how I really do feel like there's good ideas, and like there's things that, there's good ideas when it comes to the fat acceptance movement, but it gets so muddied and like it gets so carried away that I feel like most people aren't really going to be able to like hear it and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stand behind this person, because it just feels like this person is living in La La Land, this person being J-Bay. So when I say J-Bay, it feels like just takes zero responsibility for any of the struggles that she might have. This is like one of the perfect examples. So this TikTok is all about how basically the sugar industry is evil, and that's the reason that people struggle with their weight. Again, there's some sentiments that could be, I could understand, but again, it's like, it's just with J-Bay, it's always one step too far, in my opinion.
For years, we've been told fat is the enemy, that our bodies are the problem. But here's the truth. The real issue isn't our bodies, it's the system that profits off of our oppression.
So yes, of course, right? Like it definitely is hard to lose weight. There's so many, foods that are delicious that are not quote unquote good for you, right? There's a lot of very hyper palatable foods. But again, to say that your body isn't the enemy, yeah, I mean, your body's not the enemy, but when you get to a certain size, you have to understand like the fact that your body is that size is a problem, and directly addressing that fact would be beneficial for you, right? But it's like J-Bay just can't see that at all. It's just, that's an impossible situation.
From the sugar industry to the diet industry, it created the problem and then sold us the solution. Let's start with the sugar industry. In the 1960s, they funded studies that blamed fat for heart disease. They shifted the focus away from the real culprit sugar and pushed the low-fat craze. What came next? A booming diet industry, worth over $70 billion a year. This industry thrives off of telling us we need to shrink our bodies to be valuable. The sugar industry didn't just manipulate marketing, they went as far as funding biased research, using science to back up their false claims and shift the blame onto fat. This manipulation created a false narrative that still impacts public health today.
So again, yes, of course, there's definitely a lot of people have very skewed ideas of what health is and what is healthy food, and a lot of, especially with the diet industry, there's a lot of bad information. Again, that shouldn't take away from the fact that like when you are that size, there are things that you can do to make yourself be in a better position health-wise. And to say like your size has nothing to do with your health, I mean, come on. Like, let's just be real, It's just like, come on. That is going too far. That is just going too far. There are plenty of people that are healthy that aren't rail thin. There are plenty of people that are rail thin that are not healthy, right? But when we look at the extremes, someone that's over here, very, 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 very thin, has very, very low body fat, the chances of them not being healthy are pretty high, right? The same thing, someone over here that is extremely overweight, hundreds of pounds overweight, the fact that they are that size is a problem, right? And just getting to a lower weight would be beneficial for them, right? Just the same thing with someone that's very, very thin, right? Them just gaining some weight would be beneficial for them.
Image constantly pushed by diet culture shows us the ideal, but it's based on lies. Science, funded by industries like Big Sugar, has led us to believe that being thin equals being healthy and that fat is the enemy. While they work to make sugar a hidden ingredient in nearly everything we eat, they convinced us that it was our
Okay, so she says a hidden ingredient in nearly everything I eat, and then she's eating a donut. You really think it's a hidden ingredient in a donut? Come on, let's be real.
They convinced us that it was our fat bodies we should be worried about.
Again, this is what I like when I say I feel like it's satire, because like to say like to have this video playing under it when you're like, they convinced us that our fat bodies are the problem, when you are in a body that is at the point that you need basically in a device to assist you around a supermarket or whatever that is, Walmart. I mean, I think that losing weight would be beneficial for you and would help that situation. Again, it's like I feel like I'm getting trolled here.
They sell the idea that thinness equals worth and health, and that message is everywhere. What's really happening? They've created lifelong customers out of fat people, selling us products, surgeries, and programs to chase unattainable body ideals. The health industry isn't innocent either. Doctors are often trained to treat fat, not illness. How many fat people have you heard of being misdiagnosed, ignored, or dismissed because the first assumption is always about their weight? The system profits from weight loss treatments.
So again, like with that, that's something that I've always said that I agree with when it comes to fat acceptance, like getting better healthcare based on your size and not just like completely disregarding everything because of your size. That's important. But again, when you are the size that J-Bay is, right? And I don't mean that in a mean way. The size that I was at my heaviest, the simple fact of losing weight is going to be beneficial just for your overall mobility to move throughout the world. And that is something that I feel like you should want to do, especially if you have the option. There are plenty of people that are not mobile and there is nothing they can do about it, right? There is nothing that they can do that if they did this, they would be able to walk, right? Plenty of people like that. When you are so large that you can now no longer walk, and the simple doesn't mean it's easy. The simple act of losing weight would mean that you'd be able to walk again. And then for you to say, oh, it's the same thing. I'm basically disabled. I just feel like that's just such a slap in the face to people that are genuinely dealing with a disability that there's no simple fix to, right?
Surgeries and medications instead of addressing the real root causes of health issues. That's what happens when the system focuses on weight instead of health. Fat people aren't the problem. We're not lazy or unhealthy just because of our bodies. The real villains are the industries that profit off our oppression. Industries that create the problem and then sell us a so-called solution. It's time we start focusing on the real issue.
Two things can be true at the same time, right? Like those industries can definitely be negative, but at the same time, just because something isn't your fault, that doesn't mean that it's not your responsibility to change, right? Just because if you feel that these industries are the reason that you struggle so much with your weight, that doesn't mean that they have to lose the weight for you. That's not going to happen, right? So regardless of whose fault it is your responsibility to change. And it's like she doesn't see that at all. It's a non-possibility.
System that profits from our fat bodies. The sugar industry, the diet industry, the healthcare system, they've all been profiting off of fat oppression for too long. But we can change this. Fat liberation isn't just about size, it's about dismantling the systems that profit from our pain. Let's stop letting industries lie to us. Let's reclaim our power. We're not the problem. The system is, and together, we can fight for a world where fat people are treated with the respect, care, and dignity we deserve. Let's take the power back.
That's basically this TikTok. I mean, it says the kind of the same things over and over again. So there's one more that I want to go over today. This one is debunking common fat-phobic myths. And it goes on to say, there are so many harmful myths about fat people that shape how society views us. It's time to set the record straight. In this series, I'll be sharing the truth behind these misconceptions and showing the reality of living in a fat body. Let's break the cycle of hate and spread understanding.
Debunking common fat-phobic myths, Part 1. Myth number 1. Fat people don't care about their health. False. Health is not determined by size. Many factors contribute to a person's health, including genetics, environment, mental health, and access to care.
Okay. I agree with that for the most part, but it's like, it's not just determined by size, but that is part of what determines your health. I've already said this. I don't need to beat a dead horse. I've said it over and over again, but if you're extremely thin, the chances of you being healthy are very, very low. If you're extremely overweight, the chances of you being quote unquote healthy are very, very low. That's most people, common sense tells them that, right? That's the biggest issue here. I agree with all of the other things, you know, genetics, environmental, mental health, access to care, person, like all of that stuff is important, as well as how big or not big you are. That matters as well.
A person's health cannot be accurately judged based on their body size alone. Myth number 2. Being fat is a choice. False. Weight is influenced by genetics, environment, metabolism, and other factors beyond personal control.
Again, all of that is true, but all of it is true, right? To say that you have no influence over your weight is just literally not true. It's just not, right? Like, I understand losing weight is difficult, but like, I was able to lose weight and I've kept it off for over a decade. It is possible. And I grew up incredibly poor. I was taken away from my mom when I was a kid, right? We were living on Section 8. We were literally basically as poor as you can be, right? We had no money and I was able to do it. And so I just get frustrated with this because yes, I understand it definitely makes it harder. And the fact that how low income we were absolutely played a role in how large I was, but it didn't, that was not the thing that defined my whole life. Yeah, those things were important and I wish I didn't have to deal with that because, you know, maybe I'd be in a better position, but I don't know. I don't want to say, I would never change how I grew up, but like, you know, I definitely was not dealt the best hand in life, but that didn't mean that it was impossible for me to make changes. And I just really, really dislike this kind of thinking because it makes it so it's like, if you haven't been dealt the best hand, well, sucks for you, brother. That's just how life is. Might as well just give up. That's what this feels like.
It's not simply a result of poor decisions or lack of willpower. Myth number 3. Fat people are lazy and don't exercise. False. Many fat people engage in various forms of exercise, from hiking to dancing, and enjoy movement as part of a healthy lifestyle.
I don't even want I don't think I even need to really say anything about this one. I think it's clear. People know how I feel about this. I'm just gonna, yeah.
Activity should be about enjoyment and overall well-being, not just weight loss. There are a lot of misconceptions about fat people, and it's time to challenge them. In this series, I'll be sharing the realities of fat bodies, health, and humanity to help break down these harmful myths and promote a better understanding.
Those are all the TikToks that I wanted to go over. I feel like I've kind of said everything that I needed to say. I think like when it comes to J-Bay, she is just like the quintessential, most obvious like fat activist out there. The things that she says, it's like the biggest thing is just not at all being able to take any responsibility for anything. That's the way that I feel, and it's very interesting to see that because it, like I said in this video many times, it feels like it's satire. And honestly, like if it was, I would say that I was fooled because she does a very good job at it. But I would love to know what y'all think down in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching the entire video. If you did get to here, a thumbs up on the video really does help out a lot. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Peace.